Okay, Rosita Arvigo, Dr. Rosita Arvigo. I'm so pleased to have you here to talk to you today. Um, so many people listening to this will already know you, but for those that don't, you're a naturopath, and that is an N-A-T, naturopath, as opposed to the other word, which I can't say. You're a teacher, you're a herbalist, you're a writer of both fiction and fact. And also, I know you to be a very wonderful, involved grandmother as well. So thank you very much for being here today. And these days in your life, you divide your time between Chicago and Belize because you spend a lot of time, as much time as you can with your kids in Chicago. So I know that you do herb walks and things in Chicago, and you've also got workshops going on around you in Belize right now. Give us a little feel of what that looks like.
Okay. Right now there is a professional care training happening as we speak in Belize, and we are preparing for this introduction to spiritual healing in Belize, and coming up in late February. And in the States, in Illinois, close to Chicago, I have been doing city herb walks for many years. And since we had grandchildren who are now 4 and 7, so for the last 7 years, I have been going for the entire summer months from May until September to help out with childcare and also to keep myself busy, to keep up with my profession and my personal hobby of studying medicinal plants around the world. I invite people to join me every Wednesday evening to just walk about local neighborhoods, looking at useful, edible, medicinal plants and trees. They might be found in gardens and city parks, empty lots. So everywhere in the world, nature has a plethora of gifts and fascinating plants for us to look at, to study, and to enjoy as herbs or foods.
And that's one of the things that I really love hearing that you do, because it's so easy for me to think, oh, well, in Belize, of course, she has access to all of those amazing exotic plants and the medicine. But to hear you talk about just walking down what you refer to as a sidewalk, and I would be calling a pavement, and saying that you just see the plantain or, you know, the dandelions, and knowing what they do. And I'm right, you also, what's that mindful sitting in nature, what's that, Shinrin-Yoku or something?
Forest bathing, or Shinrin-Yoku.
Okay, yes.
I've been doing that. I recently, a couple of years ago, got certified as a Shinrin-Yoku or forest bathing guide. And I have my own forest bathing trail right here in Belize in the Palm Forest. And what we do is spend 3 hours in the forest in a mindful manner of using all 5 of our senses: listening, feeling, seeing, and then just focused on touch and all of those senses in order to get our consciousness out of here and into the heart. And it does really work. Yeah, so it's a 3-hour natural setting, and we experience a different set of what we call invitations. Might be put your back up against a tree for 20 minutes, sit down with a plant, touch the plant, and experience of oxygen and carbon dioxide. And people find it incredibly renewing, relaxing, actually be so close to nature in a time of basically just walking through the forest with mindfulness. Many people say, oh, but I do that all the time. But they don't do it with the same amount of mindfulness, and the mind never gets an opportunity to really stop the shopping list, the to-do list, the cleaning list, and in this way, the mind is deterred while the senses are activated. That's the basis.
And I think it's really strengthening to work like that in a group as well. And in the UK here, some of our doctors and some of our NHS providers have started prescribing similar things on the NHS. So that is such a huge change for us in this country to recognize that behavior like that. But for Don Elijio, he would have been rolling his eyes, I imagine, and kind of going, yeah, that's obvious. Why do you need to learn that? Because culturally for him, it was probably much more within his grasp than it is for all of those that spend so much time in cities.
Yes, but excuse me, Don Elijio usually spent 3, 4, sometimes 5 hours of every day walking in the high bush, the high jungle rainforest, and often alone until when I met him at the age of 90. By 95, he was no longer able to go alone, so I accompanied him because his eyesight was failing so much. But even still, even collecting medicinal plants is not the same as that focused sensation of being with your senses, not in your head.
Beautiful. So over the years, you have traveled a lot for your work, and your work has traveled a really long way, from when you were just being an apprentice with Don Elijio to starting up your own school. And, you know, I'm sure you never really imagined quite how far it was going to travel, and the people that have stepped in and made it. And we'll talk a little bit more about the Institute and how that's worked for us all. But your work, or the work that you learnt alongside Don Elijio, your other great teachers, Miss Hortense, is now in Australia, in South Africa, in all over Europe, all over America, Israel. Yeah. And you've got to travel to all of those places. And I wonder how that feels to see that work going so far.
Well, it feels very rewarding. I think that it has spread so far because of the universality of the effects and the need. The women are the same all over the world. We all have the same internal organs, and all of our internal organs are subject to the same pathologies. I think also that the results are so incredibly secure and reliable. And women have these same issues, whether you're in Israel or if you're in Australia or if you're in London. We as women have the same problems with our reproductive system, and human beings have the same problems with their digestive system.
Yeah.
And the system is very simple, it's very direct. It's easy for a practitioner to include it in different modalities. And as far as I know, most of our practitioners have waiting lists all over the world. And then I learned after 20 years of research that to determine that why Don Elijio's external massage was so effective is that he was lifting the uterus strings that hold it in place where they might have been contracted or overstretched. So as Lou did a very good job of explaining yesterday, the uterus has a tendency to fall out of its proper position, thereby putting undue weight on its own internal blood supply, venous drainage, even on its nerve supply, the energetic lines of chi, and then also the nervous system. So if you can affect all 5 of those systems, the nerves, the ligament, the blood supply, the venous drainage, the lymph, and the chi, we have 6. And it's just unbelievably effective. Even I'm impressed.
Oh, it's so funny because, as you know, I eventually became a teacher and teach your work. And I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, oh, I need to take notes. That's so amazing. But
yes.
Yeah, you're right. And one of the things that I have just been doing this week is catching up on reading all the case studies that our therapists send us if they want to go on to the advanced training. And I always have a bit of a double bind with that. Oh, I've got to read all the case studies. And then the moment I sit down and start reading all those case studies and seeing the positive effects of the work that we do, it gives me such a lift. And sometimes I sit here with tears in my eyes because I read a story and I think that poor person was walking through their life with that burden, and after 2 or 3 treatments, they are self-reporting that with the self-care and the massage that they're receiving from the therapist, their world has changed. So that self-care massage that we teach our clients, that's one of the things that I always say. It's we give them a going home present, and
That's
that for
right.
me is almost the best bit about the work. And that was something that you developed yourself. Why was that then?
Well, when I observed Don Elijio doing it, when he taught me to do it, I thought our hands can reach that far to the pubic bone. Our hands can reach to under the rib cage. It seemed to me like it must be possible that we could do this for ourselves. Therefore, we could get the benefit of this effect on a daily basis. Also, I realized that people are subject to daily stresses,
Mm-hmm.
whereas opposed to going to see a practitioner once a month, yet maybe the woman works in, maybe she loads the shelves in a grocery store. So she's lifting heavy things every day. A treatment once or twice a month is not going to be sufficient to keep that uterus from falling because of the weight that she's lifting. That's one reason. And the other reason is that in my practice here in Belize, I specialized in women and children, just simply because in Central America, women prefer to be treated by women and women bring children.
Mm-hmm.
And because sometimes they came from far away, small villages, I had some clients who traveled by horse and buggy for 6 hours to get to the clinic. So they were not able to come 2 or 3 times a week in severe cases. So teaching them to do the self-care gave the uterus enough of an improvement that when they did come back once a month for a treatment, I could then realize some major changes in what I felt under my hands. And also they had a great deal of positive things to report as well. So doing the daily self-care, I'm going to be 79 in May. I still do it almost every day. I don't do it every day that I did while I was menstruating, but I still find it very beneficial elder years.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, wonderful. So you watched your work grow and turn into an institute, and there's another whole story that goes with that. Diane McDonald, she tells a great story, which hopefully I will have her tell herself in a few weeks' time. But she came into one of your lectures at a herbal conference. She was a nurse practitioner, had no intention of turning herself into an Arvigo therapist, got caught the bug, got involved, and because of her background in business and education, she has been instrumental, along with the other people in the office, in really turning this work into the worldwide thing that it is. As we say, we've got teachers all around. So in the last few years, you're now 70, about to be 79, you've stepped away from the hands-on teaching in the full, but you still give lectures and give talks and seminars. And you tell me a little bit about those.
Well, I do. I teach all around the world still. Hopefully, we'll be going to Australia this November. And I've been to Israel, where they had a convention. We did some teaching there. I teach a lot in North Carolina, South Carolina. I go to herbal conferences as a guest speaker, and I'm always touting and promoting our work because it is so beneficial. And when you hear women's stories, find how they have suffered for years, ever since adolescence, with their menstrual periods, it's really heartbreaking. And
It
to
is.
know that very often it is very simple fix,
Yeah.
which is what I love about the Arvigo techniques, is that they are simple and very effective. It's always been my goal in life to use and to find and to teach simple, direct, effective treatments. And we have it in the Arvigo therapy.
Yeah. So you're just saying that you and I are going on another road trip. We've had a few road trips over the years, and we've had some adventures, and we've got another one coming up in November. Nothing is firmed up as of yet, but we are very much hoping that we'll be out there for most of November. And to be quite frank, I don't know where it is we're going. I've got no idea. Australia is a big place. I think we'd be fine.
Neither have I. I have no idea where we're going.
Anyway, we'll get that bit worked out. But we're going to Australia. How big can that country be, for goodness sake? What are we going to be doing there? I am going to be teaching the professional training class out there. I'm really excited about that. And it's a great opportunity because we don't often have enough teachers to get over to Australia. And what's going to make that class extraordinarily special is that you'll be able to pop in and help with some of that teaching, and just show up, and they'll be able to hear it from actually the woman herself. So I'm really excited.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, Australia. I'm very fascinated by that. Really looking forward to going, and I've also done the Arvigo therapy trainings in Mexico and Guatemala and Belize. In Mexico, I tried to find the local midwives and share the experience with them for a very nominal fee. And I find that they remember it. The usual thing they say is, oh, my grandmother used to do this, or my mother did this, but now we don't do it anymore, and I thought it was lost, so I'm so happy to have it again. And in the pregnancy and pre-delivery and then postpartum, it's a fabulous modality to be able to share with women.
I have to say that with my background of being a doula, the pregnancy training that I teach, that you gave us to teach, that pregnancy training, I think is almost my favorite, because there is nothing nicer than working with couples. You get to work with the woman before she gets pregnant, preconception, during her pregnancy, and then to work with her postpartum, and then to see those little children grow up. And I've had some children brought back to me 15, 16 years later. These are young girls who I massaged when they were in their mother's belly, and now they're to me because they've started their periods, which says how old I'm getting, really.
Yes, but it's a wonderful experience. That happens to me as well. I've taken care of people in utero, and then when they're pregnant, not yet their children's children.
Yeah.
It's not gone that far, but having massaged them in utero, and then taking care of them as teenagers and young mothers, it's a great experience. You feel very close to them. They actually feel like family members.
Yeah, and that touch is beautiful. So this work that we do, it's the gift that keeps on giving, both for us as the therapists and the teachers, and for the people we work with. So while we're in Australia, apart from teaching the class, I think that you're going to be doing some herb talks, some seminars, and some other public things as well. So there is going to be opportunities for people in Australia to get to hear you without wanting to, say anything too dreadful. It's unlikely you're going to go back to Australia again. This is a one chance to see you live in Australia.
Right. Yeah, the one and only time.
One and only time. Yes. Your stepmom was Australian, wasn't she?
That's right. I was raised from the age of 8 until adulthood, and she was my primary caregiver, my stepmother, Ethel Jenkins from Brisbane.
Ethel from Brisbane,
Ethel Jenkins from Brisbane, American soldier, came to America as an Australian war bride, which was something, I guess, quite common at that time around the world. And she divorced that first husband, and then met my father, and father divorced my mother and married Ethel Jenkins, and then
another blended
she became
family.
The stepmother. Yeah, she became the stepmother of 4 children. But I lived with her from the age of 8 until I went away for university. So yes,
you've got a soft spot for Australia. I know that you do
very much so. Yeah.
And you can do quite a good Australian accent as well. I've heard you do that too.
Yes.
So one of the things I know about you is how easily you laugh and how easily you access joy. And I know that the stories that you tell about Don Elijio, he always called himself a Dr. Clown. What was the saying, that if you can make them laugh?
Well, Don Elijio used to say, I could make the dead laugh.
Yeah.
And I always loved that part of it. But he said, most people think too much. Get them to laugh, and half their trouble and sickness will go away, and the blessed herbs will do the rest.
That's right.
That was his favorite saying. Get them to laugh, and they will get well even faster.
Yeah.
And when clients came to see him, he usually always, where are you from? What's your problem? How long have you had it? The usual intake questionnaire. And then once he gave them their medicine and their instructions, he would start his routines. He had 10 classic routines of entertainment, of telling stories with lots of action, and people would be laughing so hard. I can still remember them. Stop, Don Elijio, I'm too sick to laugh so hard, stop.
Oh.
Yeah, he was very, very, the funniest person I ever knew in my life. As he said, he could make the dead laugh.
Well, I think his joy is infectious and has carried on through us all. So how do you find your joy these days?
I'm absolutely still madly in love with studying plants. Recently, I've been studying more of the trees of Belize. Mostly, I have my head tucked down looking at herbs and smaller plants. I am researching the trees of Belize, the trees of the United States, and of course, I spend time with my dear husband and my grandchildren and my daughter. So I'm spending a lot of time with family and friends, and enjoying very much the travel teaching that I'm doing, and super looking forward to the trip to Australia. So I'm a lifetime student. I will study for the rest of my life. And my favorite study is about useful plants. Anywhere that I am, I want to know who's out there. My husband always laughs if we stop at a gas station. I say, I'll be right back. I'm going to meet the plants. And I just walk around the outside of the gas station, and I find some fascinating colonies of medicinal plants growing right there in maybe even a major city.
Yeah. Wow, thank you, Rosita. So I think we'll call it a day here. I'm pretty sure I've come in on time. I was trying to come in around about 25 minutes. I'm not quite sure. But thank you so much for sharing with us. And I'm going to really look forward to seeing you in November and hooking up together in Australia. Thank you very much.
Very good. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. We're going to have a good time. We're going to work hard, do some good teaching, and meet some wonderful new people.
Brilliant. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Ta-ta.